for Arkansas. This is Inside Arkansas Live.
And welcome into Inside Arkansas Live here on this beautiful day here in the great state of Arkansas. I'm your host, John Neighbors, alongside Curtis Wilkerson and Andrew Ellis, and appreciate each and every one of you for making us a part of your afternoon this afternoon. Plenty of things to talk about here on a Monday because it was a great weekend, which we'll get into the weekend of sports, talk about the best and worst of the weekend, Razorback football, basketball, all that good stuff. But, fellas, it's good to see you, and it's a little cold outside, so I'm glad it's one of those times where I'm glad we're inside doing a job instead of working outside in these pretty awful elements. So it's good to be indoors.
Yeah, that's a really good point. One of my worst of the weekends is going to be how the temperature dropped 50 degrees over the span of like 6 hours. It was crazy. Me and Michelle went to the movies yesterday, and when we got there, or I guess a little bit before we left, it was like 55 degrees outside. And then we walked out and it was snowing, and my windshields were frozen over. I was like, what the heck is going on? Miss me with the winter stuff. I'm not a winter guy, but I am thankful that at least we can just kind of chill at home right now, as opposed to trying to navigate our way downtown during the middle of the snowpocalypse stuff that we were dealing with last year. So that's a silver lining, I guess.
Yeah, it used to be like I didn't see snow much growing up. It just wasn't something I experienced a ton. So I used to get like excited anytime there was snow. And I remember as a kid, you missed school for snow. And so it was like something that I always kind of looked forward to. I've moved past that. The last few years, really 2022, I think, was the year that I was like, all right, I officially don't like snow. I don't like being stuck in my house. I don't like having to actually go grocery shopping and my life depends on it. I don't like that kind of stuff. But so I guess that's the one silver lining, is that just a little bit of frost, not too much real snow that it is completely ruining everything. But man, it's cold. It's indoor season. We are like, I'm planning on not leaving my house for weeks.
Well, I'm glad. I'm going to save my takes for the cold weather and snow until best of the worst of the weekend, since you brought it up, Curtis. So, because I got some thoughts on it. But yeah, a year ago, trying to move, I was moving during the snowstorm up here too. But I'll tell you this, there's nothing that gives you more of a manly vibe than when you can finally put your truck in 4-wheel drive after, never having a chance to do it. And you're like, this is why I bought this truck for right here. And just to go down the street to the Walgreens. It's like, that's all that matters. That's all that matters. So, but yeah, we got a lot of stuff to talk about today, folks. And of course, we'll get your thoughts and opinions. You want to hop in on the chat. We'll do our best to read at least the good ones, and we'll have some discussions there. But as you can see from the title, listen, people are going to get mad, and they're already in the chat saying, it's just like, well, hold on, everybody, just relax. Well, okay, here's the conversation needs to be had, because Arkansas got their taints handed to them by Tennessee on Saturday. We know that. The Palace post-game show, y'all had your reactions to it, as well as the Daily Mailbag. So we don't have to really dive into a whole lot of that element, but it was fascinating to see just how many people reacted, not only to Arkansas and Cal losing, because anytime that does happen, people are going to have reactions, but a particular quote that came from the post-game press conference from Calipari and discussing the thing he would have done differently because he didn't have a shoot-around. Take a listen.
The one thing I would do different in this game, and I all night tossed and turned, we didn't do a shoot-around today. And I just felt our body time is noon. Pretty early. If I had to do it over again, we would have gone shoot around, because we had 3 or 4 guys like kind of no show. So basically they slept, had breakfast, and never really, you play this team, you better be coming in ready to fight. And I don't mean fist fight. I mean battle. You better be first to the ball. You better be blocking out. You better run and get some free baskets, or it's going to be a hard game for you. And we didn't. So.
Okay, so just to clarify, like the reaction that people had, to, at least I saw, was yikes. Oh, wow, classic Cal. Just crazy mistake. What an idiot. I mean, every coach knows you should do a shoot around. All right, Curtis, you know basketball and you've been a coach. Was the lack of shoot around, I'm not saying it's no big deal, but was it as big of a deal as people tried to make it out to be?
No, no, it definitely wasn't. I've got a few thoughts about this. I talked a little bit about it on the Pot the Palace amongst other things this morning, so people can check that out for the long rant about it, I guess. But one, I think John Calipari, look, he's at the point in his career where he can do whatever he wants, but I wish he would stop just saying everything that's on his mind. Like sometimes just, like don't put your foot in your mouth, brother. Like don't give people the ammo to clip things and take whatever context they want out of it and go crazy. Is not having a shoot around Saturday morning a huge deal? Is it the reason why Arkansas lost? No, it's not. Had Arkansas come out in this game and gotten down 12-0 out of the gates, I would have been like, wow, they were sleepwalking, man. They weren't ready to play. The best basketball they played in the game was at the start of the game. So that kind of negates it for me a little bit. This is not unique to John Calipari in Arkansas. It's just not. Like, this is the thing. This is the dilemma that coaches have been going through since the beginning of time with basketball. When you have an early tip like this, you have a decision to make. Do we get our guys up, at 6 a.m. or whatever and have breakfast and get over there and do a shoot around? You'd probably need to be in the gym by about 8 o'clock to do that. Or do we value getting them some rest and then getting over to the arena and you're still on the floor warming up 90 minutes before the basketball game even starts? Different coaches do it in different ways. And so, had Arkansas played really, really well and won this game, Cal could have said, hey, you know what? We didn't do a shoot around. We got the guys a couple extra hours of sleep and we were rested and charged up and ready to go. And people would have been like, wow, great idea, Cal. That's Hall of Fame level stuff. It turns out they didn't have a shoot around. They got their butts kicked, and now people are freaking out about it. So I really don't think it's that huge of a deal. And then also, who's to say that when Arkansas got to town in Knoxville Friday, hint, hint, wink, wink, that they weren't in that arena getting shots up and having a workout? And who's to say that they just woke up and drug themselves out of bed and went straight over to the arena? Teams do different things all the time. They could have had a film session. They could have had team stretch with the strength and conditioning coach. Heck, when we were in Arlington, every morning when I got up and went to the weight room, the baseball team was in there doing workouts before the games. Different things happen. It doesn't always have to be a shoot around at an arena. And again, you're in there for almost 2 hours before the game starts getting shots up. So I really don't think it's that big of a deal. Other programs have this dilemma. People are just looking for a reason to pile on to Cal, and he didn't help himself by banging on the table going, oh, I was tossing and turning all night. He kind of did it to himself in terms of generating the type of reaction that it got.
Yeah, absolutely. You said it best there. Provided the fan base with ammo, people that wanted to make fun of Cal ammo. When you lose by 24, when you come out and you get hammered on the road, everything you say can and will be held against you. That's just how this game works. And so, yeah, I agree wholeheartedly that, like, no matter what he said, and that's what we do as sports fans, is we always try to look for things to explain what we see, especially when it's something we didn't expect to see. And so I feel like a lot of fans kind of gravitated to that as like, okay, that's it. So it's the shoot around. That's why. And Arkansas didn't shoot very well in this game, but I think we both agree that it's not like shooting, period, was the big difference in this game. Obviously, if they had made more shots, that would have helped. Maybe a shoot around would have helped them. Maybe it wouldn't have. But you get out-rebounded by 22. You completely fail to show up and match the physicality. Those are the big issues in this game. And so I think that the shoot-around thing is definitely overblown. And I think, honestly, like, the people that are trying to do the thing where it's like blaming it on Cal is a little tough.
Yeah, I just laugh about it because there was just so much, we know there's narratives about it and agendas towards Cal, but man, just seeing things like this really amplify the obvious nature of it. I mean, it is just so absurd that it gets to that point. And it's funny that, you bring up about the Cal, kind of, saying too much or whatever. What is it about Razorback football and basketball coaches right now that just, they just, it's like, hey, just shut up. Just say something different. Stop being like, is there some sort of thing when they get to Fayetteville, Arkansas, they're like, now they become Honest Abe and they just want to say everything that they're feeling. And, they think, oh, well, it's in Fayetteville. No one's going to hear about this. No one knows what social media is. I don't get it. But yeah, it's been funny to me how both coaches, because we talk about with Pittman almost every week, and Cal's kind of become the same thing where it's just like, man, just maybe not do it. Because what was also funny is this was a road game in Tennessee, so it's not like it was the local Arkansas media in droves over there. It was just them, and that was what was brought up. But I just wish that sometimes you just be like, hey, not say everything, just leave it. No one needs to know that stuff.
Yeah, man, you can't incriminate yourself in a 7-minute press conference. I mean, come on, guy. The other thing that I think is worth considering here, because I know another reason why it might have stuck in the crawl for some folks is because I saw some Kentucky media, shocker, putting out a clip of him where he's basically said in the past, like after a loss at Tennessee, where he didn't do a shoot around. And it's like, oh, did you learn his lesson? And again, there's so many factors that go into that. And yeah, the early tip is always going to be a dilemma. Like you try to figure out what you need to do there, but something to consider for Arkansas, if you're trying to determine, do I need to get my guys out of bed early and go break a big sweat and everything like that? Or does this group need a little bit more rest? Your whole damn team is sick. Like we find out yesterday, Boogie Flan's been dealing with the flu. Jonas Adu had it earlier in the week. We know Thero's been sick. Big Z's been sick. Billy Richmond's been sick. The whole team's been sick and under the weather. So I'm sure that's part, and I'm not excusing that for the way Arkansas played. I'm just saying, if I'm a coach or somebody on the training staff or whatever, and I'm going, all right, like, do we really need to get these guys up and get the shoot around, or do they need some sleep, some fluids? What's going on? I'm looking at, the Arkansas flu backs saying, hey, maybe we should just let those guys get a little bit of extra rest here. Didn't work out. Hindsight's 2020, move on.
Yeah, I think a lot of times coaches, when they do the overly honest thing, I think it's because they're honestly feeling like, hey, I'm gonna go to this press conference, I'm gonna answer these questions, and I'm gonna give these guys the best explanation I can, and hopefully they'll explain it, they'll accept it. They're fine with it. I think, in the words of Audie's Tony, sometimes you just got to eat that up and take it on the chin. And I think you just have to accept that you lost. Nothing you say is going to help. Nothing you say is going to make anyone feel better. And sometimes you just got to keep it short, especially after those losses, because there's just no fan that's like angry after the loss that's going to watch the press conference and be like, you know what? Sound points. Good advice by Cal. He's just really, he had his head on his shoulder. That's good stuff. That's just not a thing that's going to happen. And so I agree. And we're also the people that complain no matter what coaches say at press conferences. They always say the wrong thing, it seems. But I do think sometimes there is just a little bit of a, hey, we didn't play well. That's what it is. Let's move on. We're on to Cincinnati.
I just cannot wait for maybe it's the press conference after Arkansas's Ole Miss game or Arkansas, Florida or whatever. But he's going to poll the audience. He's going to be like, and you know what we did today, guys? We did a shoot around. And we won the game.
Can't wait.
I mean, it's going to happen. He's going to bring that up in some point. It's just in casual, like, this is what we did. We finally did that. But yeah, it's just, listen, you got 17 games left in the SEC regular season. You literally just got done with playing the number one team in the country on the road. So I don't think panic needs to ensue or people need to start freaking out or anything. But man, when you bring up the flu and people being sick and the injuries, I'm like, what is happening? Like, what is, it's like going in there and look like eventually it's going to look like Jonestown. Everyone's just going to be laid out on the ground like dead because of the amount of stuff. It seems like all year long, this team has had injuries and flu-ness and sickness and throwing up, food poisoning, whatever it is. I don't know what's going on. Maybe it's just a coincidence, but good grief. I've never seen anything like it.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. And it's amplified because of the way Cal chose to build the roster with only 9 guys that he's willing to play. And so if just one of them is sick or one ankle is rolled, it just amplifies everything that much more. Tough stuff. And every team throughout the country goes through this to varying degrees. Like John Shire didn't even coach Duke over the weekend because he was sick. He couldn't even travel. So it happens. Like, players get hurt, players get sick, but I think where it really stands out for Arkansas is, like you said, it's just been constant from start to finish since the preseason. And what that means is that you're just behind a little bit in terms of firing on all cylinders, the on-floor chemistry, the continuity, the kind of stuff that you need to win games like this against Tennessee. And like the physicality disparity there on the glass, of course, that stood out to me. Arkansas shot very poorly. Yeah, that stood out to me. But what stood out to me the most was that it just felt like Tennessee, they're not much more, if at all, more talented than Arkansas. They're just way further along as a basketball team right now. And that's a reflection of them being really good and really well coached. And then Arkansas being in a situation where they're just behind, man, because of all these factors. And it's something they're going to have to deal with and figure out. They've got to overcome it because there's no more time to have tune-up games or, work through 2 weeks of practices to get caught up. No, you got to figure it out on the fly now. And the games don't get any easier here moving forward.
Yeah, there's definitely something to be said about Arkansas being behind because obviously we see that. We see these teams that look like they're a little bit more ahead of schedule. They've played a little bit more, have a little bit more of an identity. And I also think going back to the point of Arkansas having a roster of like 8 or 9 guys that they really depend on is you just can't afford to have things go wrong. Every team has their set of circumstances where, hey, if we're going to compete at a high level, these things have to happen. If you're a super strong defensive team, you don't want to get into a shootout. If you're Kentucky and you're a big time 3-point shooting team, you don't want to get into a slugfest. It just certain teams need things to go their way. And Arkansas is super dependent on Adu Theroux being very, very good at basketball, Boogie Flan being very, very good at basketball. They have a rotation of 8 guys. They need some of those freshmen to provide. They need Johnell Davis to not be what he has been. They're just not really able to overcome if all of these things don't go their way. And I think Saturday was that kind of coming to fruition. And so I think when you think about the flu and all these different things that have held this team back, whether it's injuries, a guy missing practice, a guy being a freshman and not ready to play, like it's kind of been a perfect storm of BS for Arkansas to not reach their full potential so far early in the year. Will that be the case all year? I don't think so. I mean, we'll see. This team's definitely going to have better days, but I think if there's one big takeaway from Saturday, it's like you realize some of Arkansas's flaws and just how badly they can get exposed when just a few of these variables don't go their way.
Yeah, in fact, using that for the Alumni Hall question of the day, presented by Alumni Hall, the ultimate Razorback shopping experience. You can check them out at alumnihall.com/Arkansas-Razorbacks, or also locally at 3417 North College Avenue there in Fayetteville. It's a simple question of the day. Did the blowout loss to the #1 Tennessee Volunteers impact your future outlook for the rest of the regular season? And as of now, this very accurate and up-to-date poll question, 54% of you say no, it didn't impact it, but there are 46% of you that said it did impact it, which I'm a little surprised to see that. And who knows, maybe Kentucky fans got a hold of the poll question. It could very well be possible because I've already seen they're in our chat anyways. But I don't know. I feel like after a game like that, you can still, again, it goes back to you don't have to make it so extreme. You can say both things are true, where this team can still be good. This team can still make the tournament. This team can still get a run. They can still put things together while also being like, that sucked, should have never happened, and was kind of embarrassing the way you just got pummeled. Like, you can say both of those things, but the main reason I asked that is just to test Razorback fans to see how overreactionary they were. Because I feel like after a game like that, again, you can be upset, but do you just be like, oh, team's cooked, not any good, season's over? Come on. Like, now, if you go 0-4 to start the year, let's have a conversation. But one game against the #1 team on the road ain't going to really change my outlook of the rest of the year.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think anybody had this game penciled in as a win for Arkansas. I think it's about how the loss went down that has some people shook, and that's fair, but I would be panicking more, or maybe like my outlook on the season would be impacted more if they just went and lost by 24 at South Carolina or at LSU or something. Tennessee on the road, this is just a big opportunity, a big measuring stick point, I think, for Arkansas here in early January. What I took away from it, they ain't ready for that yet. They're not on that level yet. They're not in tier 1 of this SEC yet. Does that mean they suck? Does that mean the season's tanked? Does it mean they're not going to make the NCAA tournament? No, none of those things are true. A lot of games left to be played. They got to turn it around, and they got to turn it around in a hurry. If they go 0-2 this week, which is a possibility given who they're playing, then, I'll start to have some sweat building on the forehead a little bit. But until then, I'm not really worried about it.
I think I'm pretty close to checking yes in this box of it changing my impact on or that my outlook on the season. Now, I do want to clarify, like you said, John, it doesn't have to be all or nothing. It doesn't have to be, hey, I thought Arkansas was going to be a good NCAA tournament team. Now I think they're going to miss the tournament. But I would be lying if I said it didn't impact it a little bit. I think simply because we didn't expect that to happen. None of us expected Arkansas to necessarily win. And really going back to the preseason, we've all kind of known this was going to be probably the toughest game on the schedule, arguably, and one that we kind of chalk up as a loss when you're forecasting things. But kind of leading into the game, some of what we were talking about, I mean, we thought this team would be a competitive, close game against Tennessee. We were excited to see how they would fare on this stage. And look, these things are always subject to change. So, like, the concern I have now, obviously, you go out there and beat Ole Miss, you go out there and beat Florida, or you play really well in those games. Of course, I'll feel better then. But I guess my concern when I'm talking about the outlook of the season is I had really talked myself into this notion that Arkansas was building at a normal, rapid, like a solid pace, that they had taken their lumps against Illinois and Baylor earlier in the year, and that they had gotten better. Which I think they still have, and I think other teams are also getting better. I just thought they were a little bit further ahead of schedule than what we found out Saturday, which is that they are very far away from competing with the elite in the SEC. And again, I don't know if I ever expect this team to end up being a top 5 in the country in the title picture type of team. But I thought they were going to be able to like kind of give some of these teams a scare. And so a little bit disappointed, a little bit concerned by what I saw. There's still a lot left on the table for this team. There's still a lot for them to prove. They can go ahead and ease up a lot of these concerns, but I'm definitely a good bit more concerned about the team than I was on Friday night, I guess.
Well, I blame the SEC because the SEC did not give Arkansas a home game to start their conference schedule. They gave it to Bama and to Auburn and Kentucky and A&M, and Tennessee and all those other teams that they apparently view favorable. Ole Miss got a home game, but just wasn't for Arkansas. So I blame them really in the reality of all of it. But yeah, you gotta win these. You gotta win at least one of these games at home. Hopefully both of them, because you got to bounce back, and you got to bounce back in a major way. Let's get to some of your chats, folks, here on the conversation before we continue on here on Inside Arkansas Live. I like this from Double H. He says, if Cal does not make the second weekend and DVH doesn't make it out of the regional, I don't know if I can do it anymore. I'm on crash out watch. Yeah, I don't even want to think about that, man. I don't even want to think about it. That's bad.
I guess the one thing I'd say in response to HH, though, is this year, like, I guess I just misread everything. It's not like we all went into this season being like, hey, this Arkansas team's got to make a deep run. Like it's like all in on year one. I know that we thought they were going to be good. I mean, we still think they can be, but like, I don't know if there's that much pressure on Cal to go to the Elite 8 or Sweet 16 in year one necessarily, right? I mean, we would obviously like them to.
Yeah, I mean, there will be historic levels of victory laps in Lexington and throughout the national media if he doesn't go that far, which is, I don't know, whatever behavior. But for me, it was make the tournament, don't lose in the first round. Yeah, that's it. Like that. Yeah. That's my expectation, and I think that's something that could absolutely happen here.
Yeah, and that's what I'm hopeful for. I think like my expectation is to make the Sweet 16, just because of given the you have John Calipari as your head coach. It's like you got a talent level, like that's just where it's at. But I'm not going to just say blow this thing up. Cal sucks if they win a game in the tournament and that's it. Like if they make it the round of 32. It's not gonna be like, oh my gosh, what a disaster this is. Like
you won't have to. Plenty of people will say that for you.
Oh, I know. That's the thing is like, because it'll be funny because if Arkansas even wins one game and then they lose in the round of 32, those Kentucky fans will be like, see, told you. Like, wait a minute, I thought you said he was going to lose in the first round. Well, the first weekend he did. So it's the same thing. Like everybody's just going to find some sort of way to do it. But yeah, I'm just about getting to the tournament. And that's what makes me laugh about some of these fan bases of these basketball programs and whatnot. Like, yes, the regular season matters. You want to be successful. You want to have a nice seed. But to me, I don't understand where this idea comes from of like, no, you got to do these things. And then the NCAA tournaments, just we'll focus on that later. I'm like, no, the NCAA tournament's everything. Like that's where the money's made. That's where you get all of your success from. I don't understand why people almost just don't want to focus in on that. Now let's worry about the regular season title in the SEC. I'm like, oh, whoop-dee-doo. Like who cares? As long as you get to the tournament, that's what matters.
Well, now that would certainly be something if this Arkansas team underachieved in the regular season and then went to the freaking Elite 8. That would be quite the plot twist where it'd be like, like
I'll take it.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Also, Austin says, why can't NIL contracts be productivity based? Like Nelly and his NIL money guaranteed.
It's whatever John Tyson wanted it to be.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about this before we got on the show. I get it. Like I understand it's part of the deal now. Guys getting paid, whatever. The pocket watching drives me crazy. It drives me crazy, man. Mm-hmm. And it's just opened the door for people to be just really nasty. I'm not saying, Austin, that you're doing that at all, but just really nasty in the way they address guys and the shit that they say about these dudes. It's crazy, man. But
my thing is like, okay, if someone's going to be pissed about, say if this is like you want to be pissed about it, the only person that should be pissed then is John Tyson. It's his money.
Right. Yeah.
Like, no, I can understand, or whoever, again, I'm not tagging you, Austin, but just say Austin as an example. I can understand if you're like, you put up, half of your salary for a year in trying to get these guys going, and you're like, hey, what the crap? I can understand that. But if you want to be upset because he's not playing well, all that, that's fine. But then to use the example of like, we're paying this guy this much money. You got a mouse in your pocket? You didn't pay nothing for this guy. Like this is just how it is. I get being upset, but don't try to like hold the money against them and be like, well, because here's the thing. What if he was making half of what he's making now? Would that mean, well, now you half the production, now it makes sense and it's justified? No, you'd still be pissed because he's not playing well. It has nothing to do with the money.
And it's also not public record what these guys are making. No. Like nobody really knows. People are speculating with different things and whatever. But I do get it from the standpoint of like just finding some regulations, right? Mm-hmm. Like if these kids can get NIL, but they can bounce whenever they want to. And like I get it. Like they're not held to a certain standard of like you're getting paid based on performance. Like there's got to be some ways to streamline this. That way you can't have these types of conversations. You know what I mean? And so I understand all of that, but it's, I don't care how much money the kid is making. I mean, he's the number one transfer in the portal. I just want him to play better.
Yeah, that's a good point, Kurt. And that's another thing that I would point out in this whole argument is we could go back in time in hindsight and be like, okay, we don't want to give that money to Johnell Davis. He was the number one player in the portal. Now, obviously, he hasn't performed at a level. We're not arguing that. We get it. But it's like in hindsight, it's like, who would you, if anybody you were going to give it to, he would have been probably a less accomplished player, a player that y'all would have been disappointed and been like, oh, man, we settled for this guy. And hey, in hindsight, yeah, that guy probably would have ended up being better, would have worked out cool. But the problem is it's not up to us and it's not up to the fans to determine what that market value is. We talked about this when the Arkansas players were all going to Ole Miss, that like it's not up to the coach to be like, oh, you're not worth that or whatever. Because if someone else will pay you that money, that's what your market value is. So going back to Austin's question about can't we do the pay, like you have to perform a certain level. Why would a player, if you have a school offering you $1.5 million, why would you go to a school that's like, hey, we're going to give you money, but only if you reach X, Y, and Z? Like, that's not how it works. Like that no one's going to pass up on guaranteed money to go do a pay for play. Like, oh, you got to reach these benchmarks here. And so like, yeah, that sounds good in theory, but that's a good way to not attract top talent is to have it that way.
And then what are you going to do when they're not playing? You're going to sue them for that money?
Yeah.
To get it back because he's not playing well, or if somebody else gets hurt or whatever, and like don't feel like you're getting the bang for your buck. I mean, I get it. Like it's irritating to not get return on investment or whatever, but like what are you gonna do about it?
Yeah,
literally.
Yeah, and also like Ty brings this up. He's like, Hunter Yurchek begs us for money, but we can't complain about it. No, I'm not saying you can't complain about the performances. What I'm saying is that if you're someone who's donating $20 to the Arkansas Edge and you're popping off about this player and how and even though we have no idea how much he's making, I assume it's a lot, but just saying that like this, we're paying for this stuff. It's like, okay, yes, you were technically throwing it in, but it's not like you have the major investment like a John Tyson has been, where it's literally the majority of his deal. That's where the complaint lies to. You can complain about his performance. You can complain about all of that. But I just don't like the way that people like hold money against somebody for what they're doing. Your value is what your value is. I mean, it's what people are willing to pay you, and you either do the job or you don't. Sam Pittman's one of the lowest paid coaches in the SEC, but yet you bet you're still pissed about the lack of performance they had, aren't you? Why aren't you using that? I'd be like, well, we need to pay Sam Pittman more money or whoever more money so we can succeed in the SEC. You're not going to say that, are you? No, it's always about taking money away, not giving more money for the success. So that's my point in it. Also, Brandy just asked, what would be a bigger disaster, first round loss or missing the tournament?
Definitely missing the tournament, right?
Yes.
I mean, hell, they like first round exits happen. I mean, there's going to be 32 teams that lose in the first round this year.
Yeah. I'd rather have the hope of at least getting there, because if you don't make the tournament, then that usually means the regular season wasn't even fun. Like there was nothing fun about it. Like last year, nothing was fun about last year. Also a few more here. This comes from David. He says, bottom line, Nelly and Big Z have been apathetic and not what they were billed to be, both literally and figuratively. When is 25% of your roster, you can't even afford to make an example of them.
100% agree with this, David. And this is a big topic of the pod I put out this morning. Was people are so irritated about Johnell Davis, and I get it. And man, we had people going nuts on me and Andrew during the post game show the other day about making excuses and everything. No, it's not doing that at all. We were just talking about the basketball game that happened and what went down there. And it's the same thing with Johnell Davis. Of at the end of the day, there could be a million different factors going into why he's not playing well. It could be the wrist. It could be how far behind he is because of the time he had to miss because of the wrist. It could be that it's a bad fit in the system. It could be that he's lost confidence. It could be that he doesn't mesh well with the other guys on the floor. Like, it could be a million different things. The bottom line is, for everybody who's so mad and going nuts and saying, bench him, cut him, get your money back, whatever. You can't do that, because this roster is not built to withstand Johnell Davis not being an impactful player for him. It's just not, because you have a McDonald's All-American freshman at his position as his backup who isn't as far along as he needs to be. You don't have the depth to not have that guy in your rotation. The only solution here for Arkansas this year in this current season is to figure out a way to get Johnell Davis going, find the best version of him at Arkansas. That's all they can do. There is no bench him. There is no get rid of him. And that's all because of the way that this roster was built. Like he said, when 25% of your roster is two guys there, like you can't make an example out of somebody. You can't say what he was saying about, if you don't rebound, you don't play. I'm just not going to play you. Bull crap. Yes, you are. You have to. You don't have a choice, brother. Like, that's the roster that you built. So it does. On one hand, it's like, okay, well, we don't have guys looking over their shoulder or whatever. They feel comfortable. They're all going to play. I got a bunch of happy faces. But then you also have to look at the flip side, and it's, well, how much accountability can I really have with these guys? Because I can't afford to put somebody's butt on the bench when they're not doing what I need them to do. And that's what they're facing right now.
Yeah,
Also,
that's very good stuff there, Curtis. Beautiful gospel. The only thing I'll add to that is, I don't know why Big Z got lumped in there. Like, I don't know if Big Z is necessarily like, I understand that, like, there was some optimism. Like, we all were like, hey, it'd be cool if Big Z took it. But it's not like he was one of those guys where we went into the year being like, potential all-conference guy. Like, he's a nice piece to have. And, I think he'll have better days, but
he is better this year than he was at Kentucky last year.
I was going to say, I just don't know if he and Nelly are like the same situation.
Sure.
Yeah. You're talking about Big Z, who's probably what, 7th, 8th, 9th best player on the team. I mean, again,
that's what he was supposed to be.
Yeah. No one ever billed him as being like, bona fide starter second he walks in the door. It's like, no, that's not the case. I know we'll move on, but because I know the chat's really talking about taking issue with my comments about the $20 and everything, folks. My whole point in this is that if you are complaining like $20 to the Arkansas Edge, you get to complain. If you didn't donate your $20 to the Arkansas Edge, my point is you would still complain. It wouldn't be like, well, I can't say nothing because I didn't donate $20 to the Arkansas Edge. No, you would still be pissed. It's not about the money. That's my point. You just keep bringing it up as if like it's just one of these issues. You'd still take issue with it, whether you donate it or not. That's my point. So anyways, moving on. We got a few other things to get to. So let's go ahead and jump into your Arkansas update presented by Davis and Garrett Insurance, your independent auto owners insurance agency, securing what matters the most. We already talked about Arkansas losing to Tennessee. And man, I was really hoping for the trifecta to beat Tennessee in all three major sports, but just didn't happen. Basketball let us down, but baseball, hopefully.
It'll be a 9 versus 1 seed in the SEC tournament opportunity for Arkansas to get them. So
yes. Yeah. Let's the chances are still there. But as far as everything else goes, man, guys, I don't know how I feel about this. Like the amount of players that are transferring former Hogs to other SEC schools, because like Jalen Catalon's going to Missouri. And like, when I liked your tweet, Curtis, about like, I think you got the wrong Barry Odom school. It's actually Purdue, not Missouri.
I had a double take, man.
Yeah, he has truly been in school for 7 years. Jalen Catalon has. Like, this is his 7th year, and it's his 3rd SEC school, as well as 4th school overall. And I don't know, man. It's like between that and, of course, all the players at Ole Miss. You got Josh Braun at Kentucky. You got Brad Spence at Texas, and it's just like, man, like what is it? Isaiah Satania at Oklahoma. You see all these players going to other SEC schools. I know it's bad, but it just makes it even worse. Even though Catalon hadn't played for Arkansas in years, still just like, dang, they weren't good enough to play here. Other SEC schools think so, but I don't know. It's really frustrating to watch players that I was kind of hopeful that Jalen Catalon would come back. The redemption tour. He didn't. Decided to go to Missouri.
Yeah. It's crazy to see all that. The last regular season game that Jalen Catalon will ever play will be against Arkansas.
Ugh. Yeah.
At Arkansas.
I didn't even think about that.
It's kind of crazy, man.
And well, that's the thing is like I was trying to keep tabs on how many former players are Arkansas going to play next year. I mean, they're playing Texas, they're playing Ole Miss, now they're playing Missouri. So they don't play Kentucky or Oklahoma. So I guess, silver linings and all. But sheesh, like that's just it's unreal. But another player though, former Razorback, he's not going to SEC school, but Rashad Dominion decided to take his talents over to App State, where new head coach Dowell Loggins is at. And so I'll say I was a little surprised to see that. I thought Rashad Dominion would end up maybe not at like a bona fide SEC school, but maybe some SEC caliber school or some other Power 4 conference. But no, I guess he really likes him some Dowell Loggins, and he's going to App State.
I thought he was a lock for TCU, frankly, with Jimmy Smith.
Yeah.
That just kind of made sense in my head. But is it weird how many Hogs team up with either former teammates or former coaches at schools not named Arkansas? Like you had the team up with Barry Odom at UNLV. You got the team up with App State and Dowell Loggins. Now you've got some team up at Purdue going on. It's like, it's kind of weird. I don't like it.
Yeah. Maybe. I was going to say, you also thought Dowell Loggins at South Carolina with Trey Knox even, like, and Rocket Sanders going over there.
Yeah. Very true. Maybe R-Dub was just very much at the stage of his career where he's like, I just got to get carries. Like, I got to go somewhere and know I'm getting carries. And he might have looked at the situation at TCU or whatever and been like, maybe not.
Hey, did y'all see App State brought in another quarterback? That Swan kid who started his career at Vanderbilt and then went to LSU. Now he's at App State. So you got a little bit of a controversy brewing in the Appalachians.
Man, like it's hard to keep up with all the players going to all different places in general. But yeah, it is funny to see just even today, it's been very active. And, like the bowl games, when playoff games or whatever that ends, and then those teams have 5 days afterwards. So you're still going to have a constant movement there. But yeah, I guess that's like to your point, Andrew, when you bring it up, that's what really is just weird to me and frustrating me, because I don't feel like Arkansas gets the reuniting of coaches and players or former or other players and players. Like that just doesn't happen. It's usually just some random hodgepodge of guys just randomly coming in with no connections, where everywhere else you got players going and having fun with it and doing all of that. So I don't know. I'm just done. I'm done hoping that I see a player in the portal like, oh, well, he played under this assistant coach over at this school, so maybe there's going to be some connection. It'll really work out. Nope, it's never going to. They're never coming back. It's sad.
That's crazy.
I know. I hate it. Also, okay, I know we don't talk a whole lot about them, but it's part of the Arkansas update. I'm kind of getting to the point I'm feeling sorry for the Ladybacks, man. Like, I'm just going to be honest about it.
Tough year.
I mean, man, like, I know that people want Mike Neighbors fired. Okay, totally understand it. Totally get it. They were picked to finish dead last in the SEC. Forget it. But sheesh, they play LSU, get curb stomped by Kim Mulkey, and then they play Texas and they lose by 44 points. No, 34 points. So, like, I was sitting there and I was going through YouTube and I saw Mike Neighbors' press conference. I'm like, golly, I feel almost bad for him now. Like, I'm not saying that he's sympathy in the way of like, give him another year. I'm just saying, what do you say? Like, what do you do? They're just so bad. 7-10, 0-2 in conference play. It's a rough year, man. Rough.
Yeah. And there's going to be more where that came from. It's a tough scenes there for the Ladybacks. I'm not going to pile on to them.
No.
It makes you wonder, like, what was the plan with running it back with this regime this year? I don't know.
And also to add in, like, what goes back to us talking about players being in other SEC schools, the amount of like Razorback basketball players that are at other SEC schools, like I guess is it Wolfenbarger's at LSU. Mm-hmm. They got a couple players, I believe, isn't there one at Texas, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. There was one of those, but then Sailor Poffenbarger, can't forget her, at Maryland. It's just like, man. And then you had any good play. It's not like Arkansas football where it's like, hey, you're hoping that the players leaving, you can bring in some that are just as good. It's like, no, all of them left, and yikes. So,
what did you guys think about Kim Mulkey's get up yesterday?
With the net?
Yeah,
she wears some crazy stuff. She does.
Yeah. I know. Well, I guess when you get to that point, like when you're a coach and you get to that point where you've won titles and you're just awesome, like, yeah, I think you can just do whatever you want. But I don't know. I will always hate Kim Mulkey forever because of Kramer Robinson. Like, I hate her. I got sick of seeing her at every dadgum baseball game that LSU played in. So forever, she may be a nice lady and really good. Yeah, maybe she's not.
my buddy played with Kramer at LSU, and he was like, he said she used to go there and to their spring practices, their fall practices, and she would just dog cuss Kramer from the stands. Like he would like bobble, and she'd be calling him, the PU word. Like, I mean, she was,
wow.
she's a hostile old woman.
Yeah. Like that's, I don't know. Yeah, I'll just always hate her. But either way, she had quite the get up there. And also, I love the people too, because I know we'll move on to the SEC update. But love the people too. They're just like, just just fire Mike Neighbors and go up, write a check to Gino Oriama and just bring him in. I'm like, oh sure, totally easy.
Yeah, why not, man?
Yeah, I mean, can't believe you didn't think of that before, Hunter Yurchek. Come on.
Can I ask? Let me ask you guys this before we get off of the Arkansas update here. Are we surprised that they haven't added more guys out of the portal after this visit window? I mean, I guess it just ended yesterday, so like the option is still there for them to get a couple of these dudes who visit. I know they got the offensive lineman from Maryland or whatever, but it's like, I don't know. I just thought they'd get a handful more here.
Yeah, whatever happened to the Auburn safety? I thought that seemed like a promising thing. I mean, they need another defensive back. We had someone in the chat that was like, "Hey, are we going to get that A&M receiver Noah Thomas?"
No,
I'm like, "No, dude. Like that is not the stratosphere this team is aiming for here." Look, we said a lot about this portal class. I know you guys covered the offensive line addition the other day. It has played out about how we expected it to play out. And there are a lot of people in this chat that owe us apologies, I will say, because after we did the reaction to Sam Pittman's press conference, when he was like, "Hey, we got all this money, we're about to go out and crush it in the portal," we called BS a little bit, and everybody was like, "Guys, just wait and see the studs they bring in." I mean, it speaks for itself at this point.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, I'll say this is like, even to when the portal, I think even the portal before it opened, I got a text from somebody that I really know and trust in the Auburn media. Sent me a text about TJ Lindsey before he even officially could enter into the portal and told me, "Hey, this guy, like I'm hearing he's going to Arkansas lock. He's coming back." It's like, oh, okay, cool. Nothing. And I was like, man, if that was a guy that was like wanting to come back and or at least really interested, that's been weeks. So it's like, why not somebody like him? They could use some D linemen. I feel like, that'd be nice to add.
They could use some D linemen. They have to get a couple more tight ends to just fill out be able to practice, I guess.
They need their Blake Kern in this group. That's what they need. The Blake Kern.
They need another receiver. They need some more help in the defensive backfield. I know the Adrian Maddox dude went to Florida. So I don't know. Like they got some spots they got to fill, and I know they've got the spring period too where they could do some of that, but I am surprised that maybe they haven't got a couple more guys here.
Well, they got time, and I don't know. I still think back to Sam Pittman's thing about, in the next week and a half or whatever, we'll judge it then. All right. Well, sure. We'll see. But spring, that's the next thing. Spring portal window. So when they're really going to add some pieces.
And look, they actually will add a piece or two, and like they've done a decent job at that. But that can't be the basis of your class. Is the leftover guys in spring. Maybe they'll be able to find maybe one or two more starters, but you're gonna get lucky basically, which is what they did with Steven Dix this past year.
Also, can you guys name Arkansas has the most players lost in the transfer portal in the SEC, by the way. Can you name the second team of who have lost the most players in the portal?
I saw this graphic, so I should be able to tell you, but I can't tell you.
Ask that question again.
If Arkansas's lost the most players in the transfer portal in the SEC, who's second to them?
Kentucky.
Kentucky is actually tied for fifth.
Mississippi State.
They are third. Oklahoma's number 2.
Yeah.
But to give you like a margin, Arkansas has 31 players that's lost to the portal. Oklahoma's 27. So you're talking about 4 more players. And if you want to know how close it is, it's like 27, 26, 24, 23, 23, 20, like pretty close, but the difference between first and second. And I tried to find it, guys, and maybe you can help me out with it. I'm pretty sure Arkansas was either number 1 or number 2 last year in players lost to the portal as well in the SEC. Like, I know they were really high up there.
Yeah, but John, this happens everywhere, bro.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
It literally happens everywhere other than literally nowhere else.
Yeah, it's totally normal losing all of your best players and starters. Just I need to read a book for once in my life, apparently, because that's the way it goes down. Morons. All right, so moving on into a little bit of an SEC update presented by Rhoback, folks. Get you some great performance apparel. Go to rhoback.com. Use promo code HOGS20. Get 20% off your very first purchase. A few things of note, one of them being, of course, of the SEC basketball weekend, which, not just Arkansas and Tennessee opened up, but a lot of other teams opened up their SEC play as well. In fact, every team did. And I would say there was maybe one good game, I guess. That was, of course, Florida, Kentucky. Kentucky does get the win, 106-100. And I'll say this, I know there's 40 minutes in a game, but man, that I felt like where Florida lost the game was right before halftime when they were, I think it was tied or maybe a 2-point game. And then Kentucky just did some things. They had that and they built it to a 10-point lead in the final minute. And that was all she wrote. But yeah, if you like offense, that was the game for you. Remind me of almost the Arkansas-Kentucky game last year in Rupp Arena. Good grief.
Kentucky is sneaky because they do. They will go through some pretty significant stretches where you watch them and you're like, yeah, these dudes are really going to get exposed. And then you blink and they go on a 10-0 run. And that's what happens when you have so many guys who can knock down threes like that. It's crazy. But they had, in the first half, they got down double digits right away. And they had a 10-0 run and then a 16-0 run there late that you were mentioning. And then Florida claws all the way back at 70-69. And Ty Golden calls a timeout. And I'm like, okay, Florida's back in it. They might be able to sneak this one out. It would have been a huge win for them. And then, take a drink of water. Kentucky's on a 10-0 run again. And, it's just they can come at you in a hurry, man. I'll give them credit for that. But I might have been more impressed with Florida. I'm not even trying to take a shot at Kentucky. That's a hell of a win. They got 3 wins over the AP top 10. Mark Pope's doing a great job over there. But for Florida to go into Rupp and take their best shot like that and score 100 points, and that was pretty impressive. That is not going to be a fun game for Arkansas on Saturday at all against Florida.
Yeah, Florida looked really good. And you know what Kentucky has? They have that classic Eric Musselman term, spurtability. That's what they do.
They do.
A lot of spurtability. You almost feel like Mike Breen's about to just come out of the corner and yell, bang! Whatever. And they have a knack for some of the shots they take, they're almost like heat check type of shots where it's they know if this one goes in, it's going to be such a gut punch. Obviously, that's what Golden State Warriors made their money on. And they have a little bit of that feel where it's and like you said, Curtis, you feel like they're getting away with something they shouldn't. They're playing unethical basketball. That's what I texted Curtis the other day. It's unethical what they're doing. Yeah,
it's kind of crazy, man. It really is. And what I think is going to wind up getting Kentucky, though, because they can score it. We know that. They're sub 90 in defensive efficiency. They can't guard. Now they have guys who can, and there are times where Lamont Butler or whoever can really set down. But if you're in this SEC and you're barely a top 100 defense, that's eventually going to catch up to you. And and then some days the threes just aren't going to fall. When that happens to Alabama, anybody can beat them. And what happens to Kentucky, Ohio State can beat them by 20. So they're gettable, but that was a big win for them. But Florida, man, they've got 3 really, really good guards and they offensive rebound like crazy. So should be fun.
I just pray to sweet baby Jesus that Kentucky gets into the NCAA tournament, has to play Vermont or something of just some bona fide four white dudes that have been there for 5 years that can just shoot the lights out of the ball and they can't shoot threes and then they're just cooked. That's what I'm really hoping for. But yeah, they keep winning some good games, man. Also, Auburn played their worst game of the season, according to the experts there in Auburn, that they still beat Missouri 84-68. So just, I don't know. It's I hate it because I know I keep bringing up Auburn, but they are so fun to watch because they're so dominating. And if
shout out to Missouri for covering.
Thank goodness. Yeah.
It was I feel like it was a 16-point game the entire game.
Yeah.
It's it was never really in question, but I agree. Auburn you were kind of waiting for Auburn to really lay the smack down. It felt like it just hovered in that range.
Yeah, because I was even looking at their numbers and whatnot. And I guess statistically speaking, it was one of their worst games. But also that gives Missouri, I believe, now that they've lost 21 straight SEC games. So still looking for the first one here in a while. But
they get LSU, I think, this week
Dude,
That'd be their
I
chance.
could not think of a worse SEC basketball game matchup.
I mean, we had all those bangers on Saturday, and then it's
Yeah.
like, oh, LSU and Vandy. Cool.
Ew, just disgusting. Bama took care of business against Oklahoma. Oklahoma was undefeated, number 12 in the country. Alabama made them look suspect, and just because Bama does that.
The least surprising
they were like
result.
20 at halftime. Like it wasn't even close.
The real ones have been
Oklahoma.
waiting on this.
Yeah. Oklahoma, we've been on this. They kept winning and winning and winning. And one of the last 3 undefeated teams. And Andrew, I think we're going to be on the right side of history with this one. They're not that. I don't think you're going to finish 500 in SEC play.
I was going to say, I think they might miss the tournament. I'm ready to go that far. Like, I think they're going to be one of those teams. I mean, I feel good about that one. I wish Arkansas played them Wednesday, frankly.
Hey, are we saying Oklahoma is going to be like that Arkansas Pelfrey team when they beat Texas and Oklahoma and non-conference like, oh man, this team's it.
I don't think it'll be that bad, but like I could legit see them doing like the 7-11 thing in SEC play or something.
Which, by the way, 7-11 SEC, honestly, like it's a pretty solid team.
They might still get in if they do that. Yeah.
I just also laugh too because like I'm looking at the box score. They lost 107-79. Imagine scoring 50 points in the second half if you're Oklahoma and you still lose by 30. Like that's because Alabama scored 59.
How many threes did Bama hit?
In this particular matchup, they hit only 9.
Wow.
So,
you give up over 100 and only hit 9 threes.
I was listening to Porter Mosier and he was talking about how like they've got so much firepower or whatever, but they start 3 guys who are 6'11" or taller. Alabama does. Because they start the Stevenson kid with the big transfer from Rutgers, and then they got Grant Nelson, and that's their 3, 4, and 5. So offensive rebounding. Who was it? Oh, it was Bruce Pearl, because I guess Missouri got more offensive rebounds than they did or whatever. And he was saying that 8 of the top 10 teams in the country in offensive rebounding in the SEC or whatever. So you keep looking at that and thinking about what happened to Arkansas, and you're like, good God, what are they going to do? I will just point out that going into the Tennessee game, Arkansas was top 20 in the country in terms of keeping their opponents off of the offensive glass. What happened on Saturday happened, and they're still top 60 in the country in that metric. So, they have been pretty good at keeping opponents off the offensive glass. Hopefully that was a come to Jesus moment for them, because that was crazy. We haven't seen that since Muss's first year.
Hey, Cal did do a Sam Pittman, by the way, where he was like, but guys, believe it or not, we worked on it. We did box out drills. He did that thing. I'm like, oh God, dude, shut up. And I really I'm serious when I say this. Anyone who in the chat right now is like really like watched Cal's presser and got upset about it, like relax. It's not that big of a deal. But that did make me roll my eyes a little bit where I'm like, oh no, he's doing the thing that the coaches do where they're like, it's not my fault. Not my fault.
Dude, again, I just don't understand this from coaches. That makes it worse when you say that, because it's like, hey, we actually worked on it and we still got smoked in it. Like, don't tell me that. It's just I'd rather him said nothing about the shoot around, but then come out and say, hey, we didn't, one thing I would have changed as he hits the table. We should have worked on our boxing out. We didn't do enough of that. Because then I would be like, oh, okay, well, yeah, don't do that again, Cal. Don't do that again. But when you're saying, hey, we worked on this one thing, we got blitzed in it. We didn't do this other thing that isn't that big of a deal, but then I feel like it is. So just like, stop. Just say nothing. Give us nothing. He
prefaced the statement with, you're not going to want to hear this. And I'm just like, then don't say it.
Don't say it. Yeah, if you have to start your response with, y'all don't want to hear this, but don't do it. Whatever it's about to leave your mouth, do not say it.
Oh,
now, a few other games real quick of note over the weekend. Texas A&M destroyed Texas 80-60 in that game. Mississippi State just destroyed South Carolina 85-50.
Mississippi State might be for real, man.
Hey, I was told that nobody liked Chris Jans and did not want him as coach because he's not any good. So
goodness,
you don't tell me that. But yeah, they scored. The halftime score was 43-18. Like that's like a women's basketball score at halftime. Like, come on, that's insane.
Yeah, I know that South Carolina is like probably at the bottom of the SEC or whatever. But geez, dude.
Yeah. That was brutal. Also, Georgia and Ole Miss. Ole Miss, next opponent for Arkansas, Wednesday night, 6:00. Ole Miss wins by 12, 63-51. And
That's a very Chris Beard score,
oh
by the
gosh,
way.
yeah, dude, that's honestly that should have been the score of the Mississippi State South Carolina, and that's when I'm going to love the Egg Bowl matchups in basketball this year, because Ole Miss Mississippi State, it could be the most disgusting looking games and scores you'll ever see. So I cannot wait for those. But yeah, they take care of business, and the only road team to win over the weekend was the Vanderbilt Commodores as they beat LSU 80-72. So
good on them. Yeah. Woo.
Yeah,
That McMahon, he ain't gonna make it at LSU, is he?
No. They look like they might be a little bit better. And then the I can't remember the kid's name. He was a former 5-star, but he is out for the season now. He's their best player, and they're screwed.
If LSU, McMahon, if you want to fire him, whatever, do the right thing. Bring Will Wade home. Bring him home. Bring him back. That would be an awesome, fun little story of redemption right there. If that
I saw Will Wade pop up on the on a hot board at the U. Could you imagine Will Wade in Miami?
Man,
that'd be good. I prefer him go to Miami. Honestly, I don't want him coaching at LSU, because LSU hadn't been able to keep it rolling since he left. So it's like,
as
I don't
much
want
as
him to
that
rejuvenate
man,
him again.
As much as that man sweats, I don't know if he can go to Miami.
Yeah,
I don't know. That'd be a tough one. The new AP poll came out. Arkansas is not in it. That's not a surprise, but they're only 2 spots behind receiving votes. It's Pitt first, and then Arkansas second.
So 4 spots is what they dropped.
Yeah, they dropped 4 spots. Okay. Ole Miss will come to town ranked 23rd on Wednesday, so top 25 opponent coming in, and then Florida number 8 on Saturday. So 2 top 25 games in Walton Arena. That place needs to be rocking, man,
dude. Okay.
It really does. Like it's time, because we haven't seen it since the Duke game, and I'm not blaming the fans for that. It's like it was a big crowd for the Auburn game to start SEC play. They got the crap beat out of them, and they just kept losing. I wouldn't want to go to that either. I get it. And then they haven't had a sexy opponent or anything so far this year. But like, there are no more excuses now. People will say, well, it's Wednesday and it's a 6 p.m. Whatever. I don't care. Late arriving crowd. I don't care. Fill it up.
Don't get me started.
Right now, I really do think, while this team is trying to figure themselves out, what's our identity? How can we get it to click? They need to be able to lean on Walton Arena to win a couple games here. It has to be that real 6-man type of deal. And it can be, and it has been over and over again. That's got to be the case this week. I really think it's important.
Yeah. I mean, just preseason, if you had told me that, you're going to have not a ranked matchup, because Arkansas is not ranked, but you're going to have a ranked Ole Miss team as the SEC opener for Calipari at Arkansas, there would be no doubt in my mind that crowd would be rocking. The fact that we don't know for sure if it's going to be a good crowd or not is worrisome. But yeah, I agree. Like there's no excuses. Like, it's time for this fan base. I understand that, the team, you're still trying to figure out if you like them or not, figure out if they have a chance to be good. But I think that's a good point, that like the crowd is a factor, especially when you have a venue like Walton Arena that makes a difference in these games. In these type of games, it's going to be against Ole Miss. It's going to be ugly. It's going to be a slugfest. Any little 3 or 4 point swing you can get would help.
I mean, the best atmosphere we've seen in a year has been the Kansas exhibition game.
Yeah. And that was rocking.
And it was. But if somebody tells me on Wednesday night, shut up,
it's going to happen, John.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, I know it's crazy. Stop traffic, but other SEC schools play during the week too, and they don't have this issue. Like, I know that apparently church only happens Wednesday nights in Arkansas. That's the only thing. But there's zero excuse. There's none. Go to the game. Just go. They deserve it. And I know I'm not expecting 20,000. That'd be great. But if there is not at minimum 17,000 people there, I'm going to lose my mind.
Yeah.
Lose it. So
it just needs to be, it's got to be rowdy, man. It just needs to be loud. I don't care how many people are in there.
Yes.
Need to have some juice in that building. The team could help by getting off to a decent start or whatever. Like, I mean, it goes 2 ways there, but I have seen that building win Arkansas basketball games they probably shouldn't have won so many times over the last several years. They might need that right now. Maybe not Wednesday, maybe so, I don't know, but Saturday for sure. They need the crowd.
Yes, and I mean, that's the Mike Anderson era lasted as long as it did because of them winning games at home they shouldn't have. Like, I mean, there was so many of them every year. And here's what I don't want, folks, and you're flirting with it. Right now, where it stands, Walton Arena is considered still to be one of the toughest places to play, one of the greatest atmospheres in all of college basketball. But if it doesn't improve significantly this conference play, next year, you're not going to get that. And people are going to start saying, lost its luster. And they're going to be right. And I don't want to see that. You have had, since that building was built in 1993, it's been a place that nobody wants to play in. And right now, you're flirting with a little bit of like, because the student section sucks. They have no energy there. And that's really where, the play on the court is where it starts, but it filters into the student section. Student section has to be lively. The band has to be into it as well. It's all a group effort, but man, I'm going to be sick to my stomach if we're talking next year or getting close to basketball season. Everyone's like, yeah, Bud Walton ain't what it used to be. That's going to be very disappointing.
Yeah, if y'all don't go to the games, they're going to let Hunter Yurachek renovate that joint. And that's what y'all don't want.
Mm-hmm. And you're 100% right, though, man. He's looking for a reason. Just to go in there and it's like the Oakland A's trying to sell the team. They're looking for a reason to sell. It's going to be the same deal. He's looking for a reason to renovate it and put these loge boxes in that are just going to take away. So yes, please, for all that is holy, go to the game. I beg you. All right, let's go ahead and we'll get you some of your chats here in a second, folks, but we do want to get into our best and worst of the weekend. So a lot of good things that happened over the weekend of sports and non-sports related things. And, we like to have some fun with that anyways, but we'll go ahead and start off with the best of the weekend for me. Now this is really random, but I don't know why, you have certain stories in sports that really get you and it makes you feel like pumped up and excited. We know Indiana's college football season was awesome and, it was a cool story. They lost to Notre Dame and all that, but Curtis Rourke, their quarterback, it came out in a report that he's undergoing ACL revision surgery this week because he retore his ACL in August. All right. He tore his ACL in August, yet still played this season and led the Hoosiers to a playoff. So we could say, it must not have been that bad if he's still playing. I don't care. All right. I've had a torn Achilles tendon in my day. I know that, a lot of these injuries, especially ACLs, MCLs, all those things are serious. But anytime I see something like that, for one, that he did it, and two, that we did not know about it until the end of the year, that shows a tough dude that I want on my team. And I thought that was really awesome of him. Scary, but tough. And again, it wasn't a story that every time Indiana played, hey, did you hear this guy's got a torn ACL? No. Didn't know about to the end of the year. Love that story. Love that guy. I hope he does well in the NFL. That's really awesome.
Yeah, that's really impressive. I hadn't seen that. Wow, that's a ballsy move. I don't remember him. I don't guess I watched a lot of Indiana football. Was he wearing a big brace or anything throughout the course of the year?
I
wonder. He was wearing
like a little bulky thing.
Yeah, he was wearing the Stone Cold Steve Austin like knee braces.
Okay, yeah. Well, so at least it was protected. I guess that's dangerous stuff, man. But
yeah,
no, that's really cool. That's impressive, man. Warrior. Mm-hmm. How about that? Mine is not sports related, but I didn't watch it live, but I've seen so many clips now that it had to be in my best of the weekend. Nikki Glaser hosting the Golden Globes. Any award ceremony or roast, she needs to MC it. She's freaking hilarious and she does not care. And it's just hilarious, man. So many great one-liners from that came out of last night. She was great. Really funny.
I was going to bring that up, Curtis. I wasn't sure if you were aware of it because I knew you were you're like an OG Nikki Glaser guy, right? Because you were like seeing her in like comedy clubs.
Yeah.
Right. In St. Louis and stuff. So I knew you'd appreciate it. I didn't know for sure if that made it on your radar. She did a crazy, because there's a Catholic movie called Conclave that won awards and stuff. And so there's like a Catholic movie and Wicked, and she did like a whole bit. She was funny. She did it. She got Adam Sandler in on some stuff too.
The Adam Sandler thing was good. Yeah. She was hilarious.
Now, the Golden Globes, I actually did watch it last night. Some of my best of the weekend, because Colin Farrell won for Best Actor for The Penguin, which he deserved to. That was awesome. But the girl did not win. Kristen Milani or something like that. But the one who played Sophia in The Penguin did not win. That was shameful stuff.
Which you mentioned the Penguin. That was one thing about one of my favorite lines from Nikki Glaser. She was like, the Penguin The bear reindeer tears. We're not talking about things in RFK's freezer.
Good stuff.
It's pretty good.
He also said something about Wicked where she was like, yeah, I didn't know much about Wicked going into the year because I had friends in high school, but loved it. Great movie. And I was like, that's pretty funny. Is it my turn for best of the weekend yet?
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah. Here's what we'll do. Because I've got a few of them. So I'll announce, hey, you guys done with your best, and then we can move to worst. So yeah, just knock it out.
LiAngelo Ball. We familiar with LiAngelo Ball's game after this weekend?
Yes.
Unironically, by the way, like the song is pretty good. So for those that don't know what we're talking about, LiAngelo Ball, the forgotten Ball brother, the other two are in the NBA. LiAngelo was always kind of the worst of the players. He's the one that got arrested at UCLA and kicked off the team and all that. And he hung around in the G League a little bit, but he's got a song that has taken the internet by storm. Like everyone's been posting videos with this. And the Lions, by the way, one of my other, I've referenced the Lions, the Detroit Lions, a ton on best of the worst of the weekend for their fun stuff. They clinched the division, clinched the number 1 seed last night. And in the locker room, we're celebrating with LiAngelo's song. This made me very happy. This made me very happy. I really, I've always been a Ball family guy. Like I've always liked Lonzo as a player. Kind of supported LaVar to the point where it was like then I had to kind of separate myself because he got a little crazy there. But good to see LiAngelo still kicking.
I was just gonna say I really hated the Balls, but the funniest thing about the Ball family was whenever LaVar Ball went on, I guess it was a first take or whatever, and the lines he dropped, man. He's just like, when Stephen A was asking him, so you'd say you could beat Michael Jordan. How could you say something so blessed? He's like, in my heyday, he'd need help. He's like, in a 5-man game, he good. 1-on-1 game, I'm undefeated, never lost. It's like just, he would not stop. And I was like, I actually respect the bit because so many people bought into it. But another great thing that, again, I wish I could play the video, but another best of the week and I saw, I'm saying this in a very complimentary way. I love a fat guy play in football, and seeing Michael Pierce, the defensive lineman, the 355-pound defensive tackle for the Ravens, not like it's one thing to get a fumble and run, to get an interception is hilarious. And he got it. And I respect him to where he could have kept running. Like I'm not saying he would score a touchdown, but he could have kept running, but he went down. I was disappointed. I was like, man, but then after the game, I even liked him more because he came out and even Harbaugh came out and said that we talked about where if some play like this happens, and go to victory, just go down. So I was like, well-coached player, high IQ player, but I don't know. There's just always something fun about seeing just a huge human being making a play that they don't normally make. And the celebration on the sidelines was really awesome. So I enjoyed that. I really enjoyed that.
Love it.
And also another best of the weekend for me was seeing that Bill Belichick's on Twitter now officially. He's got a Twitter account.
You gotta be.
Yeah, and his Twitter handle is terrible. It's so dumb, but it's literally Belichick_B. That is his official Twitter handle. It's like you couldn't have done something else, but no, it's fine. So any other best of the weekends for y'all, or we need to move to worst?
I'm good.
All right.
I don't think I have anything good that happened. No.
Okay, good. My worst of the weekend that I wanted to bring up for today was it's a reoccurring thing. And, we always have those things in sports that just drive us up a wall, that really piss us off that things happen. There is nothing that I hate more than seeing when a team is up 3 at the end of a game and they foul a 3-point shooter. I lose my mind because there is zero excuse for that. Well, that happened over the weekend between Notre Dame and North Carolina. North Carolina's not as good. You're struggling or whatever. Notre Dame is up by 3 points, 73-70 with 13 seconds to go. And North Carolina has the ball. They go down the court. They fire up a prayer. They foul the 3-point shooter. He makes the 3, gets the and 1 for the 4-point play, and North Carolina wins. I hate it. I hate it so much. There's like those simple things like kicking the ball out of bounds in football, which also was great seeing a Dallas Cowboys cheerleader get pegged in the back of the head in that game. But there's just certain things that drive me up a wall. That is one. Fouling a 3-point shooter when you're up 3. just foul them in general if you're going to do that. But anyways, that was one of the worst of the weekends for me.
Michigan did that to Oklahoma in that game a couple of weeks ago, the exact same thing. And that wound up costing them the game. Yeah, it's frustrating. Got to have a little bit more awareness than that. When they get to a certain point where it's pull-up zone, you got to be real careful. Which, by the way, oh no, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I was just going to ask a question. Are you guys big on if you're up 3 with 10 seconds or less to go fouling, or do you just let the 3-point shot go?
I'm a foul up 3 guy.
I'm a foul up 3, but you got to do it early, like you said.
Yeah.
You can't wait until they're around that. Like when they first inbound it, that's when you got to foul. You can't wait on that. It has to be early.
He made that shot. What they have, like 5 seconds left or something?
Yeah, 3.9, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was kind of right in that at that end game there. That's tough. I will say for the people who are like, oh, why is everybody mad at Johnell Davis? His first game back from injury. I've seen a good handful of people say that in defending him, and I get it. Notre Dame's best player was in his first game back from injury, and he scored 23 on North Carolina. Like you can come back from injury and have a pulse at least, and not be a paperweight in the corner. So come on now. Worst of the weekend for me, I got a couple. Where do I want to start? I think I'll start with the people who were actually throwing a fit about John Calipari showing up for Derrick Rose's jersey retirement. I don't understand why this is controversial. I really don't. Just because they lost to Tennessee, like he's not supposed to go support one of the most influential players in his coaching career. That seems a little bit crazy to me. And then it was being parlayed into saying he's all about him and everything. Seemed like a very unselfish move to me. I think it would have been a poor look if he would have not gone because they lost to Tennessee. Honestly, I mean, it's not like he didn't miss a game. He didn't miss practice. He didn't miss a film session. The team was flying home. He flew to Chicago and handled that, and he was back. He was back yesterday. So like, I don't understand why some people felt like they needed to dunk on him for that particular thing. People just reach to go after Cal. And I get it. He's a polarizing guy. He brings some things on himself. There are plenty of basketball related things to critique him about. Like there are plenty of things that happened in the game against Tennessee that you could critique him about. Going for D Rose's jersey retirement it's just not one of them. I thought that was crazy.
Complete non-story. And Curtis, it's been like 3 times on this very show where I've had something to say on a topic, and then you do such a good job, laying it out there and giving the correct take where I'm like, I don't have anything to add. He nailed it, Because I was going to prepare to like dunk on everyone who's like upset about that. And like, look, if you're a Kentucky fan trying to like poke fun at Cal, like whatever. If you're an Arkansas fan who's trying to really convince yourself that had any bearing on anything with the game, I don't know. I don't know why we convince ourselves that made up things are real, and that they matter. Like it really doesn't. I actually thought it was very cool. D Rose is one of my favorite players ever. So I thought it was cool that Cal went and supported him. And frankly, D Rose getting his jersey retired by the Bulls is it's a bigger deal than a lot of than Arkansas's game that day. Frankly, I mean, obviously, if he had skipped the game to do it, that'd be concerning. But like, went to the game, lost. Yeah, I agree. What is he gonna do? Cancel the flight?
Well, right. My question: did they? So I read something. I could be wrong, but did they actually not retire his jersey? It was just an honoring. Because somebody was talking like, hey, they didn't actually retire it. I could be wrong about that.
I really don't know, honestly. Okay. I thought it was retiring, but I don't know that for sure.
Okay. Well, it's not that it matters. He got honored, and it's not a big deal. So yeah.
Well, I guess y'all left the Joy Taylor FS1 thing to me, huh?
We sure did.
Yeah, because I was going to bring it up at some point, but we can bring it up now too. Let's just have this. Let's just have it out.
I mean, so I classified this as worst of the weekend because I don't want to. I mean, everybody's made a lot of light of the situation, and we will as well. Don't worry. But I do also want to there's a woman that is like suing Fox Sports. She was sexually harassed. She was, put in uncomfortable positions and all that. And she also decided to take this time to air out that Joy Taylor may or may not have, used things to work her way to the top. Emmanuel Acho, who I actually made fun of recently on the show, like not too long ago. I was like, he's one of the like classic, like does because he was doing the weird thing about Fernando Carmona, where he was like rage baiting with that and being like, oh yeah, they should. He's the reason why we still to this day have people commenting every single day, and they're like, they should throw Carmona in jail. They should kick him off the team and all that. Like he's one of those guys. So him turning out to be the guy that was sleeping with Joy Taylor, I did not expect that to happen. apparently Skip Bayless is offering 1.5 milli for sex.
He might be the worst of the weekend.
Yeah.
No, he's the worst. I
mean,
think so.
Come on, guy.
I mean, listen, that's how much Johnell Davis is making in NIL. Didn't y'all know? I mean, you're talking about that? Come on now.
Yeah,
He's giving up his whole bag for one session. I don't think so.
Yeah, you can $1.5 million can either get you a guard to shoot 38%, or it can get you sex with Skip Bayless.
What a deal.
Crazy, man. Yeah, I wound up reading, I feel like, that entire filing just because so many of the screenshots were put out, and I'm just like, holy crap, this is crazy. And there's a level of corrupt, in that business, but my goodness, man, there's a lot to pick and choose from all that was put out there. That was nuts.
Yeah,
I saw a lot of people also go. I was just gonna say, I saw some people that were like giving Colin Cowherd props for not being in the lawsuit. Like, credit to Cowherd, just out there giving his takes and not harassing women. It's like, yep. What
a world we're living in when we want to give flowers to people not named in sexual allegations in the workplace. Like, what a time. No, again, it's quite the story, and it's all allegations. We all want to make sure that it's clear. However, if it came out as being true, would anybody be surprised? And I'm not talking about just everybody. I would not be surprised at all, especially when you got executive producer guys that are, involved, because we know how Hollywood works and stuff, and, about the certain people getting up there into the ranks of everything. It's just not saying it's true. It is allegations, but if it did come out as true, I just don't know how many people would be like, oh, wow, I could not believe that. That's absurd. I just don't see that happening. But
wild times, man.
Yeah, it's just so funny because I'm seeing all like the old videos and clips of because how you say his name? The guy you just talked about, Andrew, that you were hating on for the Carmona thing.
Acho.
Ocho, yeah. Or Acho. Is it Acho? Acho?
It's ACHO. Acho.
Yeah, Acho. Well, anyways, like just seeing the videos of him like just really going over the top about Joy Taylor and like how awesome, like it's just like, oof, it's all connecting in a lot of weird ways. But yeah, what a wild story that one is.
Well, dude, people have been pulling up tweets. Apparently, Acho, like every year for the past like 6 years, has been like posting like, happy birthday, Joy Taylor, one of my best friends, like a great coworker, blah, blah, and like posts all these videos where she's like at his house and stuff. And so it's like, in hindsight, everyone's like, oh, obviously, like they were doing something, but that's tough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And my final thought on that too would be, do you guys watched the Chappelle show back in the day? Do you remember the skit that he had, the love contract that was put together before they did? Yeah, that's why I'm always wondering, like, well, I wonder if one of those was done. It's just like, all right, if we're gonna do this, but you can't say these things, or, these are the things I get. Like, probably not, but my sense of humor really hopes that something like that existed. So,
has Skip put out an actual statement yet? I know there's been a lot of AI generated ones that have been pretty funny, but
the AIs have been good, but I haven't seen anything actually from Skip. I bet like he'll have his lawyers or somebody cook up something.
Yeah.
I just can't wait, because the Inside the NBA on TNT is going to make they're going to make jokes about it, and that's why I love that show so much. Is because like First Take won't say anything about it, or Undisputed won't say anything about it probably, but then Charles Barkley's going to pop off, Shaq's going to be giggling himself to death, and it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. Another worst of the week, and I guess I know it's kind of yours, Curtis, but I wanted to come back to it, was this cold weather stuff.
Oh man,
because I wanted to mainly bring this up because of a few reasons. One, I've always hated cold weather, and people ask me, why do you hate the wintertime or whatever? I'm like, okay, I don't want to have to put on a bunch of layers only to take them off whenever I go inside of someplace. I hate static electricity. I hate sickness. I'm congested right now. I hate all of these things. But I don't know what I hate more, that or the people's overreaction to the possibility of winter weather. It's okay to be prepared. It's okay to be safe. And I understand all that. But like this morning when I walked out just to check my mail, and I see people like with chains around their tires. And I'm like, it's not even snow on the street. It's like what did you think was going to happen? Like it's just, and it's all both ways too. Because then there's some people that are dumb when it actually does snow a ton, and they're like, "Oh, I'm going to go in my Subaru Outback and go down a hill without a 4-wheel drive," and then I'm shocked when I slide into a vehicle. So it's amazing how much cold weather and possible winter weather just makes people's brains go dead. It's
not even going to be able to wipe my rear end for 2 weeks because we got a light dusting outside. The shelves are empty.
Like, guys, we've been alive on this earth between 25 to 35, 36 years, whatever. How many? I mean, I can count on one hand how many like snow ice storms that I've experienced where I was just like, hey, I got to be at home. And even if I was, it was like 2-3 days, maybe.
Yeah.
Like, at what point in time it's like, man, we got to get out there and get that 48 pack of toilet paper. We don't know what's going to happen. Like, why? When does that ever happen? When the ice age comes in and suddenly we got to sit around for a month and we can't get out of our homes? I will never understand that.
I mean, you'll always have a shower. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you got a shower, is toilet paper really that essential? You know what I mean? Like, obviously, you know what I'm saying? Like it's one of those things like food and drink. Like if you're like, hey, I need to have stuff to eat, I have to. Okay, that's fair. But like the toilet paper, it's like you could survive without it. There's alternatives.
Mm. Yeah, and it's also bread and milk. When people are just say like, oh, we got to get the bread and got to get the milk.
Yeah.
It's like, you can get some Cheez-Its too. Like those work. You can eat those, or bottled water. I don't understand it, but people lose their minds over it for whatever reason it is. So anyways, geez. Okay. I wanted to get into the chat because I know it's been a long time since we've gotten into it, but
it's active.
Yeah, there is. There's a lot of activity.
There's a Kentucky fan that's a big fan of you, John. Seems like
it's a Kentucky heavy chat today, I would say.
Like in a weird way or in like a actual, like sarcastic way?
No, you just said he likes you.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. I always get weird when people do that.
I would hope they like at least
just say
one
thank
of
you,
us.
man. We got
Since they all could tune into the show.
No, I'm not going to say thank you because then it ends up like if I say thank you, then it's going to end up being a recurring thing, and I don't want that. Like it's already weird enough as it is. I don't need Kentucky fans being weird. All right, 2 things in the chat. David says, "Do you guys think that Muss's energy and personality helped fill that stadium, and that's why we've had drop off in attendance?" I do. I actually do.
I think so. I mean, he did a great job of engaging. He was a salesman, a marketer. I mean, he did really, really well with that stuff, and it definitely had an impact. I don't know that it moved the needle quite as much. I'm looking at a needle moving actually on this.
It's pretty cool. I was noticing that about 2 minutes ago. It's pretty cool.
Got to give you credit, for that new graphic there. It's a good one, but yeah. So I don't know, like it definitely impacted it. I am still surprised at, some of the differences. I just thought the Calipari brand was bigger than it was. I just kind of had a feeling that the crowds were going to be a lot bigger. I'm not saying sold out in a packed house every night for Maryland Eastern Shore or whatever, but like we've talked about it, we don't have to rehash it. It's been pretty light. So I'm very, very anxious to see what it looks like as we get into conference play. I do think that one of the misfires has been just less media availability. I feel like the fan base doesn't necessarily know this basketball team that well. They don't know who to root for or whatever. Just looking at Tennessee in preparation for this game, like different players getting interviewed. Hell, Kentucky, it's like after every practice, the entire team is available for folks to talk to or whatever. I just feel like there might be a stronger connection between players and fans at other places right now than it is Arkansas. And that's not on the players and it's not on the fans. It's just, I don't know. It feels a little bit different this year from that standpoint for me. And I think that has impacted a little bit of the excitement levels personally.
For sure. And I think Muss was always very good. One, at like doing the little bits of, hey, we got a big game coming up or whatever, but just every game day, you knew you were going to get that tweet that had his outfit or whatever that had the stuff. Like there would never be an Arkansas game day that went by where people would be like, oh crap, I didn't realize Arkansas was playing today, because they just would see random stuff. And so I think that the pre-game availabilities are certainly a big factor, Curtis, because we don't hear from players ever. We only hear from assistant coaches. And so I think it all it's not like one factor to blame, but when you add it all up, and I think the school, you say you overestimated Calipari's brand reach. I think the school did too. I think they probably took that as like hey, we don't have to get creative. We don't have to incentivize fans to come. They'll just show up. And I think they've kind of had to adjust. And that's why you're starting to see more of a concerted effort to where, hey, we're doing this stripe out next week. Be prepared for that. here's the time, here's the date, like stuff that they really just didn't do early in the season. And I also would say that Musk definitely did a lot. He filled up the stands on a pretty consistent level, but there were still plenty of non-conference games back in the day, even the last few years, where wasn't much going on.
Yeah. And it's like, I'm not expecting John Calipari to walk out there like Muss and, put on goofy outfits and start yelling at you in the camera about getting to the games. Like, I don't expect that. But, and it's also, it shouldn't be his job. It doesn't need to be his job. He's got bigger fish to fry. But you got to find somewhere to be unique and creative of getting people to games. I don't care if it's like former players that are yelling at you in the camera. Someone needs to yell at somebody in the camera to get you to go to games. That's what it needs to be. So figure that part of it out.
I think we're overdue for a John Calipari tech.
Yeah, hasn't been one. Like, maybe I just know whenever and anytime he's going to get thrown out of a game, Arkansas is going to win. That's
right.
That's what I'm feeling.
We've learned that, and when he gets thrown out at Bud Walton Arena, his team wins.
Yes, that's true. Undefeated, never lost with that.
You can only get away with it once a year, so I don't know what that game needs to be, but
yeah, make it count. Evan just says, John, who are the Jets going to hire? I heard Rex Ryan floated out again. I do not care. Like,
dude, I heard they're interviewing the Steelers OC, Arthur Smith, who sucks.
Everybody sucks. It's on their list.
Sucks at his job. That's going to be a disaster.
Ron Rivera, they're like interviewing. Great. And Matt Nagy or whatever, whatever his name is. Yeah, like they're interviewing him. I'm like, great. Sweet. That really does it. Come on now.
It does seem like they're going to keep Aaron Rodgers, though, by the way. It does seem like Aaron Rodgers doesn't have anywhere else to go. I'm
over it. My football teams have sucked for a long time. And it's like the one hope I had was Aaron Rodgers. He comes in and blows his ACL or his Achilles in the first year. And I'm over it. I'm done. I'm done with it. So I do not care. They're still going to suck no matter what. Let's see. Carlos is asking, y'all think the game's still going to be played this Saturday? Yeah, because I saw that there's possibility of winter weather, but I don't see any way.
What I've seen, I think, has been Thursday into Friday. But I think we're a little bit too far away to know how much it's going to be. But yeah, this doesn't strike me as one that's going to be canceling a game.
No.
Will it affect attendance? Yes.
Yeah.
That's going to be for sure.
Yeah, will be a pain in the butt to travel if you're not in Fayetteville. Maybe so. But
they played games in some real like gruesome snowstorms to the point where like it definitely affected the crowd. And like, I don't think they're going to cancel the game or postpone the game unless something really weird happens, unless it's like a historically bad one.
And they're also still, it's still very much the guessing game. Like I see a new, tweet from a different meteorologist, like every 30 minutes saying, oh, the models are saying this. Now the models are saying that. Oh, it's shifting south. It's shifting north. Who the heck knows what this is going to be? What I'm guessing is it's going to be like all the other ones where it gets way overhyped and then nothing substantial really happens.
I had a meteorology professor tell me, and I never forget it. Trying to predict weather past 48 hours is a complete crapshoot.
Yeah.
And I think about that all the time because these broadcasts that are like told, hey, give us the 10-day outlook. Make it, obviously there's stuff that they're looking at, almanacs and such, but it's like it's a complete crapshoot.
So hold on. Did I miss something? Did you were in a meteorology class?
Yeah, I made a 109 in the class. It was one of my last years of college, and it was one of those classes that was like a once a week 3-hour class. And my advisor told me to take it because they were like, the professor will cancel, like you'll have only, like 12 classes the entire semester. And this professor will cancel a third of those. So like, which did happen. And then a coronavirus happened. So I only went to that class like twice. And so, yeah, it was awesome.
A coronavirus happened. That's the way they'll do it.
Coronavirus. Yeah. The old COVID got us. Yeah. Somehow COVID canceled my meteorology class.
Yep. Just like that A&M game playing in a College Station. Yeah. Just like that. Also, there's something else I was going to bring. Oh, yeah, because we were talking about the snow games and ice games. And one of my favorite Razorback basketball games of all time was actually one in the snow. And it was when Arkansas played the eventual national champions, Florida, in Bud Walton. And that was like, I think there was probably
right on cue,
like 7,000 fans. Oh, yeah, there you go.
Fun fact, I was at that game. It was the first time I had seen a game in Bud Walton Arena.
How old were you?
Little. I guess I was like 9 or 10.
Yeah. I think I was still in high school when it happened, but yeah, that was a great game. If you haven't seen those highlights, go to War Machines. Like, it was so fun because Arkansas, that was the time where Arkansas had gone like 4 or 5 straight years without being in the tournament or postseason and hadn't won a big game or anything. And then, Florida came to town, goes to overtime. Ronnie Brewer with the steal. Yeah, it was good stuff. That was a good game.
It
But
was a few years ago. I think it was not the year that COVID shut everything down, but the year where like attendance was reduced and stuff. It was snow and ice for the Florida game, and there was a water main break in the basement there in Walton Arena. So it was like half flooded, and that was good. Arkansas won that game too, but that was seems like Florida, for whatever reason, just gets to come to Fayetteville and see snow every time they're in town. So.
It's kind of weird and ironic how that is. But yeah, Arkansas's record is pretty good because I remember, guys, just a couple years ago, it was LSU, I believe, in Fayetteville when Arkansas had the pink jerseys.
Yeah.
And that game, and I remember I drove, my ex went to the game too, and she insisted on driving back to Hot Springs like that night. And I was like, okay, I'm going to drive and follow you. And guys, I was in the truck and I almost slid off the interstate. Like that was stupid of me.
You're like, yeah, let me follow you. Then you just smack her.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, I'm the one that gets in the wreck. But yeah, so I remember that game too, was been in an ice storm and everything. But yeah, bring back those pink jerseys. I actually like those.
Yeah. Arkansas's best performance that season happened in another ice game against A&M.
Yep.
Yeah, that's true.
Was that the Mikel Mitchell near triple double game?
Maybe it was I remember the final score was like it was like 66-47 or something like that. It was like a low scoring game that Arkansas just kind of, it was a classic must game.
He got to wear like the Windex jacket or something. He came into the press conference. Like, oh yeah. Anyway,
that was another thing too about Must. I think started coming to an end was I remember he every time would wear some like Whitman mops shirts and stuff like that.
UPS, you got to deliver.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, like any of the sponsors there, and then it's just kind of slow and surely started going away. And because I think he wore a Sonic Drive-In shirt once, and all the sponsors there for the university. So, all right. So I was trying to see if there's any other chats that wanted to get to.
You got to keep the carrot in front of them. You got to keep them coming back for more. Don't satisfy them too much.
Sometimes it just gets a little weird in there, and I gotta really navigate through it. But I don't remember. Whatever, it doesn't matter. People just saying things and stuff.
We'll be back tomorrow.
Yeah, that's right. We do this show daily through the week, so we'll have that. But yeah, so any final thoughts, guys, before we roll out of here for the day? Possibly, depending on if there's a transfer portal pop or not.
Yeah, that's true. I hadn't even considered that. It probably will happen. But no, not really. Just hang in there if you're freaking out about this basketball team. I get it. Alarming result on Saturday. They're going to be fine. Long season.
Yeah, I like that. I hope we get a portal pop because just need something to spice the day up,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Other than that, I don't have much to offer. I saw some people talking about Arkansas being ranked 13th by perfect game. And I'm sure I'll do a video breaking down something along those lines, but it was shameful. I agree.
Yeah. Well, at this point, I'm fine with it. I don't care. Just rank them low. Like,
that's kind of where I'm at too, where I'm like, I'm not really going to throw too much of a fit of this, but it was interesting.
Yeah. I do have a final thought that I need to add in support of my friend Andrew. I did go with my wife to the theater yesterday and watched Wicked, and enjoyable experience. Wasn't bad.
Pretty good. I'm in the Wicked colors today. Got the green and the pink going on,
You are.
I will say at first, Andrew, I thought that your camera was being mirrored because I look at your hat and I'm like, I think that's backwards. But then I saw that it's not. Yeah. It's supposed to be. Yeah. But
DeVille, Spring's favorite city. That's what they say.
Well, I have not seen Wicked, and I probably won't, but that's fine. Yeah, but I've heard good things. I've heard because it's a play, right? Isn't that what's based on, a play?
It's based on a play, yeah, and it's definitely a musical. Theatrical musical.
Yeah, well, hey, that works too. So, well, appreciate everybody listening in and watching in Inside Arkansas Live. Be sure to subscribe to us here at Inside Arkansas. Check out our social media at Inside Arkansas. You can also download all of the audio versions of our content wherever your podcasts are found, on Apple Podcasts, as well as Spotify and everything like that. And you can also, of course, check out our website, InsideArkansas.com, for all the latest and greatest up-to-date information on all things Razorback. So, for Andrew Ellis, as well as Curtis Wilkerson, I'm John Neighbors. Same sports show, same sports channel tomorrow at noon. Have a great rest of your day, everybody, and we will see you then.